Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public service announcement. For regular viewers and listeners of AWI Pod, please do not be offended, as this program contains good wrestling.
It's my life in the box in front of me. The guitar in my arms is the soul of me. You walk by, ask to see me lay face down.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Warring to Attitude. Unfortunately, I didn't put the number of the episode in our description, so I have no idea what number this is. We'll figure that out later. I am your host, Brent Miles, and of course, if this is Warring to Attitude, I do not do these things by myself. He's the barroom brawl and disco dance and dynamite stretching intercontinental playboy. Folks, he's more over than WrestleMania at GA Wrestling Night. Glenn, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Not quite as over as the Legion of Doom, though, in Chicago.
Oh, well, who the fuck is, right?
Exactly.
Nobody's as over as the Legion of Doom in Chicago, except for maybe like Ben Zobrist. He helped the Chicago Cubs win the World Series in 2016. He might be the only other person. Mm-hmm. You have to be like a deep Chicago sports fan to get that reference. I don't know if you guys will pick that one up. But anyway, Glenn, we also didn't come alone, did we? It's not just the two this time, is it?
Well, it's WrestleMania. And you have to have a three-man booth for WrestleMania.
I don't write the rules, Glenn. Those are just the rules that have been brought to me. Exactly. Our special guest this evening, he will take you through the first and lasts of many wrestling shows with his podcast buddy, Dan. It's UTTRob. Rob, how the heck are you?
I'm good. I'm just a bit worried that if I'm the third person that's been brought in for a wrestling event, that makes me like the Jim Ross type character that's well past it and everyone just wishes would retire.
Well, not you.
We're more Vincent the King, and you're the JR coming in at that stage.
That stage, yeah, the earlier one.
Yeah, that's much better than the later version. Yeah.
Well, I brought my toga especially for being the Jim Ross coming in.
You can't see Rob right now. He is absolutely wearing a toga. No, he's not.
Yeah, I've got my notes for WrestleMania 9. I'm sorted.
That's okay. That's fine. It's basically the same thing.
Without the camel.
We're actually on our other show, The Mayor of Superstars. We're coming up on watching WrestleMania 9, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, Glenn will wear a toga. Maybe you could ship your toga over to him for our WrestleMania 9 show.
Yeah. It's I've recovered WrestleMania 9 before when we used to do them on that night as wrestling podcast with James and Mags, and it's an interesting show.
To say the very fucking
say that again.
We're usually looking for bad wrestling on AWI Pod. That's sometimes not the case for this show and the Heritage Cup show that we do. So WrestleMania 9 is right up our alley because that's what we want is bad wrestling.
If you want some bad wrestling, I can recommend some bad wrestling for you.
DMs are wide open, Rob. Send me as much bad wrestling as you want. I love it. But anyway, like I said, sometimes we review bad wrestling and sometimes we don't. And this WrestleMania 13 had some good wrestling and sometimes it didn't. It took place on March the 23rd, 1997. Go ahead.
Sorry, before we start, I would just like to say congratulations, gents, for still having both your ears because we all watched the Slammies and basically I wanted to rip my ears off.
I just can't believe that they got this time slot on USA Network, and we're going to do this award show, and it's going to be like the Oscars or the Grammys. It's going to be really glamorous, and everyone's going to be there in shirt and tie, and it's like a dinner event, which they didn't even fill the tables for. They didn't even paper the restaurant well enough. But then what transpired with Todd Pettingill and his awful songs and just cringe-worthy moments? It's like, I can just imagine the network executives going, is this our wrestling special? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure what this is.
For anybody that hasn't listened to our review of the Slammies, there was one time that I actually turned into Ron Simmons.
He did.
When Sable came out nearly wearing a swimsuit, I had to go, damn!
That was about the only good 30 seconds of that entire show.
Yeah.
I was just upset that Marlena didn't have an oversized laptop with her. I always thought she was better with the in the York Foundation.
Yeah, definitely. And like that Todd Pettengill stuff was so bad. Like I dropped clips of that throughout the show, so it means I had to listen to him multiple times. And oh my God, I wanted to kill myself.
I just wonder who wrote that. Who was it? Todd Pettengill. You know, don't worry, lads. I can cover this with some hilarious lyrics. Or you know, because I think at this time it was Pritchard and Cornette that were in charge of creative. So
yeah, there's no motherfuckers in there, so Cornette didn't write it.
Yeah, they definitely did. They definitely didn't have their fingerprints on that song.
Yeah.
Pritchard, I could see because that was awful corny. And like I told Glenn during that show, like he did the same thing at the '96 Slammy, so they didn't even learn their fucking lesson. They let him do it 2 years in a row.
It was the last one to like 2008 or whatever.
Yeah, that's why they quit doing it. Yeah,
I'm surprised they got to WrestleMania after that Slammies.
Should have just shut the whole company down after that. WCW has won the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
WrestleMania 13, March 23rd, 1997. It is in Rosemont, Illinois, at the Rosemont Horizon. They always say it's Chicago, but it's not Chicago. It's the suburbs, just so everybody knows. This was the second WrestleMania held at the Rosemont Horizon, as part of WrestleMania 2 was held there in 1986. If you guys will remember, WrestleMania 2 was broke into 3 separate parts. I think they had the football player Battle Royal in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, with the fridge, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With the fridge. I think he got thrown out by Big. No, he got thrown out by Big John Studd, and then I think he goaded Big John Studd into like pulling him out of the ring or some shit like that. But yeah. Interesting stuff there. This show got a reported 237,000 buys, which makes it the lowest buy rate for a WrestleMania ever up until that point. It had 53,000 less buys than WrestleMania 12 and 103,000 less buys than WrestleMania 11, which I consider to be the worst WrestleMania in history of WrestleMania.
I wonder why. The build up to it was all right. The go home show.
Yeah,
they did a really good job of talking into the building, but obviously not to buy the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I guess not.
I'm a very sad individual who spends too much time looking at statistics. And a while ago, I did link the US unemployment rate to wrestling pay-per-view buy rates. WWE tracks really well with that. So I think there was a late 90s recession, so that could have been part of the reason for it. But it's difficult with wrestling because sometimes the quality sort of lags the audience's interest in it, or you certainly we've covered when you get up to the height of WCW's success and Kevin Nash is in charge. There's some god awful stuff up there. And but people are still watching it because it's the thing that they do, and they're invested in it. But yeah, it's pretty turgid to get through.
I think it's the same thing goes for the Attitude Era too, because people look at that with such glowing eyes, and I go back and watch some of that stuff, and it's not very good. I mean, it wouldn't hold up today if you went back and watched it.
No.
People think it does, but it's really not as great as you think it was. I mean, Mae Young gave birth to a hand, for crying out loud.
Yeah. The thing is that the Attitude, it wouldn't have been if there hadn't been a Stone Cold and The Rock.
Probably true.
It would have just gone on. If Rocky Maivia had gone on the way he'd gone on, instead of after this going away and coming back and reinventing himself, then we would probably not have had an Attitude Era. And WCW could well have won the war.
Yeah.
One of the things I think WWE did really well sort of in this era is sort of hit the zeitgeist of what was popular in television. If you look at the TV shows that were on at the time, and I always use like British examples of Eurotrash and The Word and stuff, but like Jerry Springer and stuff, in America and that sort of car crash TV, they were very cutting edge, and that lined up very well to the other popular shows of the time. And if you look at modern wrestling, it's almost like they completely ignore what's happening in the television landscape and just ploughing their own path. And yeah, it's probably a lot more difficult for the general public to engage with it because of that.
It's an excellent point. It's a really, really good point. So our friend over at the Bang Bag podcast, Andy, he always does like the top 10 music charts when he reviews the show. And since it's WrestleMania and it's a pay-per-view, I want to do something a little bit sort of that thing, but we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to look at the top 5 movies in the world in March of 1997. They don't have any British movies though. I couldn't find out if there were any popular British movies in 97. So sorry guys.
Well, we'll try our best.
Good, thank you. So the number one movie in America in March of 1997 was Liar Liar, starring Jim Carrey. You guys familiar with this one?
I've seen it, but possibly in 97. So, is it where he's not allowed to lie anymore? Something's happened to him.
Yeah, so his son
and he has to tell the truth. Yeah,
that he can't lie, and that he has to go through the whole day not lying. He's a lawyer, so it's hard for lawyers not to lie. There was the movie Selena. You guys familiar with the movie Selena?
No.
You're familiar with the Mexican-American singer Selena. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Okay.
No.
This movie was basically the movie was based on her life, her ascension into rise and fame, and then her tragic death as she was shot and killed by, I believe, the president of her fan club, I think, is the one who shot and killed her because she was stealing money or something like that. Here's a movie that you guys will definitely know, and you'll probably wonder why the fuck it's on the list for 1997. But it's Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. You gotta see that, right?
Were they re-releasing them because of the sort of next iteration of Star Wars films that were coming out at the time? Was that?
That is correct. They were showing a new remastered edition in theaters for the 40th anniversary. That's when they added all the weird dancing shit and Jabba's palace, all that shit.
Yeah.
In 1997. Here's one, Jungle to Jungle. Have you guys ever heard of the movie Jungle to Jungle?
No.
Former cocaine smuggler Tim Allen. That's not the movie description. I'm just saying that generally. Found out that he has a 13-year-old son who's been raised in the jungle, and then he brings his son to New York City, turning his life upside down in the process. So if you haven't seen that one, go out and check it out, guys.
That sounds great.
It doesn't know. I'd rather see a movie about his exploits in cocaine smuggling. You know what I mean? And the final one is Private Parts. It is the autobiography story of radio rebel, TV personality, author, and now movie star Howard Stern. You guys ever seen that one?
He was up for a Slammy, wasn't he?
He was up for a Slammy. That's correct. Yeah. Mancow and his friends very upset that they even brought up the name Howard Stern.
Yeah.
Mancow's so upset he's going to have a match at Spring Stampede 2000 against Jimmy Hart.
Yes.
My surprise, though, is like me and Glenn watched that show last summer, and now we see Mancow in the 97 Slavery Store, and I said, what the fuck, man? We really cool full circle here, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, that was an interesting list. Sorry we couldn't be more interactive with it.
Honestly, Glenn, it went exactly how I wanted it to go. It went exactly how I foreseen it going, so that worked. So the show begins with one of those really cool, like, black and white videos, and they got the guy with the ominous voice, and I can't do it because he's just really, really great. I always love these black and white videos that they did in the 96, 97 era, and whoever had this magical voice, he was really, really good at it. Very good stuff.
So, I mean, with them, there was a little bit of over-egging the cake, wasn't it? They were talking about a tempest engulfing euphoria. It's like someone's got a dictionary out and it's just randomly picking words out of it.
That actually sounds like Vince made that one up. It definitely sounds like a Vince. The first match we get through the curtain here, it's going to be it's a 4-way tag team elimination match.
Before we actually get to the first match, there was one little bit there that popped me. Was the first sighting the PlayStation Blimp.
Oh yeah.
And it had the especially after the conversation we had the other day, because it had like the little carriage at the bottom of it. So I can imagine Mini Mankind and Mini Vader riding that around.
Yeah, trying to find Masquerita Sagrada and Mini Gold Dust. Mini Gold Dust, though, is probably about the same sort of height as Johnny Gargano and Pete Dunne.
There was nothing mini about that teenager at all.
No.
He's 6'3". He's bigger than the ordinary Gold Dust.
He was a really tall 6th grader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told you guys when I was a little kid, I was absolutely 100% sure on who was flying around these little blimps. I didn't think it was Mini Mankind or Mini Vader. I didn't think it was Hornswoggle or Max Mini and that shit. I literally thought that the King Jerry Lawler sat there with like a remote and flied that thing around the arena.
Oh, right.
That's what I believed when I was 12 years old. And I don't know where I came to that conclusion. I just sort of made it up on my own.
Who knows? He may well have been.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you've ever seen any of those sketches where the freeze frame and then he's drawing stuff on the screen, if his controller being that good, it'd have crashed.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, we have witnessed that.
Yeah, we see that a lot on the Mayor of Superstars, unfortunately. It's like Pictionary with Gary the King Lawler. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the four-way tag team match, we've got the Godwins taking on the Headbangers, taking on the new Blackjacks, and taking on Furnace and LaFawn. Good news, Glenn. I think this is the first time we've ever seen Furnace and LaFawn wrestle, and it didn't involve Bulldog and Owen. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, make the change.
Yeah.
And it was considering that the whole of the start of 97 tag matches were the Bulldog and Owen against Doug Furnace and Phil LaFawn. So I actually found 3 other tag teams was pretty good going for them.
It's not as bad as when Owen was tagging with Yokozuna, and there'd often be matches when there was literally Owen that was the only one that could wrestle in the match, like he gets met on a mission or something like that.
He just always running around in circles.
Yeah.
Stick. Yeah. But yeah, Glenn, I didn't look at it with that sort of bright side that you did this tag team match, and I should have. I should have thought, well, they found 4 fucking tag teams. That's pretty goddamn impressive. For the whole year.
This shouldn't have kicked off the show.
Absolutely.
This should have been the piss break.
It's a bit bad when you're opening with the piss break, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
They used to do like the free for all, and they would show a match in the free for all, and this was total free for all prime material. That's exactly what this should have been.
It's funny though, because the end of the show, there's 3 big matches, and the Legion of Doom 6-man match. You'd normally have something that maybe takes the crowd down a little bit before the main event, but no, let's put our biggest pop of the night on before it. If they put this 8-man match in,
yeah, exactly.
Then it might have been a bit better.
Swap them with the Legion of Doom and Armid.
Right.
Now that open it, lift the crowd to start with. The whole show would have flowed a lot better.
Definitely, I absolutely agree with you. So apparently, this tag team match is for a tag team title match the next night on Raw. We got to hear from the new Blackjacks on their way down to the ring, so that was something. At least they got to keep their mustaches on their faces and they didn't fall off.
Yeah.
And JBL's got a stupid grin on his face as well. It's like,
they're a couple of cowboys.
Ye fucking haw, huh? We got a bit of a hoss fight to kick this thing off there. We had big old Henry Godwin in there, kind of throwing down with old Bradshaw. It was an interesting little start to the match, I thought.
Vince kept calling him Hank Godwin.
Yeah. Henry short for Hank, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where he got that one from. But yeah, I mean, it started out hard hitting. I don't know. I mean, I found this match quite difficult to get through. I mean, there was some shenanigans with the first elimination in inverted commas. Yeah, and it at this point, WWE felt like that, they were really in transition, and there were some very modern things and some very old things. Yeah. And that maybe is reflective of Jim Cornette being involved in the booking committee. But, this didn't feel as in step with some of the other stuff on the show, this match and the whole scenario around it.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you on that one. It just, the toughest thing that happened in this match is Bradshaw gets in there and he starts fighting and he's got his vest on, and then he had a tough time getting that vest off. Bradshaw versus his vest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Furnace, LaFawn, and the new Blackjacks all get counted out. Or is that right? Or do I have that right, Glenn?
Yeah, you do. Yes.
They all got counted out because they were brawling the outside.
Yeah.
Well, because Vince McMahon on commentary saying these Texas Cowboys aren't that smart, and it's like neither are the WWE officials, because they shouldn't have. It's blatant cheating. It's just counting them both out. Why on earth that happened?
Are the referees Cowboys too?
Especially as time has gone on, we've been told in these multi-men matches that there's no count out disqualifications or you don't have it. There's no rules. There's no rules to these multi-men matches.
I wouldn't have been surprised if they disqualified someone for throwing someone over the top rope in this match. It was so old school.
They somehow converted back to 90 WCW and they don't even know how or why. Yeah. It definitely felt like it could have went that way. So we're down to we got hog farmers versus headbangers, I guess, guys who like to do mosh pit things.
They start out doing that boo spot where Phineas and Mosh are punching each other, and there's literally zero reaction from the crowd.
The headbangers just look like they've taken over the sinks from
the Nasty Boys.
The Nasty Boys.
We're going to talk about sinks later on too, and that's going to be a lot of fun. The Nasty Boys, brother. Yeah, so I live in Nebraska, and I've seen many men and like dressed up in overalls. But I want to know, Rob, Glenn, have you guys ever seen anybody dressed up like the headbanger?
Seen people wear dungarees. Oh, sorry, I was thinking the Godwins there. I mean, we're both old enough to remember Punk the first time round, so
never anybody dressed like those two.
No? All right. Well, I thought I'd ask. I didn't know. Henry hits a big clothesline, sending Thrasher and Hank to the outside. I started calling him Hank, too, because they were doing it. The headbangers were the best part of this match. They did some really cool moves. They looked crazy. They said weird shit. They spit up in the air and caught it in their mouths. Besides everything else in this match sucking, I love the headbangers.
Yeah. Fair enough.
At least Hillbilly Jim was there, you know. That was my take home.
Yeah.
And as always, it's nice of Hillbilly Jim to take time out of his busy schedule giving his Hall of Fame speech to come to WrestleMania 13. Because he's been doing that for a long time. So it's hard for him.
Hillbilly Jim looks like a star, though, you know, because he was bigger than everyone else in the match, you know, when you say about wrestlers and stuff. And it's not a great look for a manager, is it?
The same as when he debuted in the 80s. He looked exactly the same in 97. Yeah, the Headbangers get the win, and apparently they're going to be facing the tag team champions tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. And of course, Glenn, we can't go a week without the fucking honky tonk man, so here he is to do commentary.
Oh God, yeah.
Just before you go on to the honky tonk man, when the Headbangers won, Mosh does what I thought was a top rope Lou Fez press, and I know WWE have always like suppressed people that they don't want to talk about and whatever.
Yeah.
Jim Ross called it a vertical version of Ray Stevens' Bombs Away, and instead it was invented by Ray Stevens, and I was thinking, hang on a sec, wasn't Fez before Stevens?
Yeah. 20 years probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't catch that. But JR, there's nobody on commentary on this show that's going to say anything smart unless it's JR. And then sometimes they take they'll remove a commentary person so they can bring in the honky tonk man or Shawn Michaels, and it's always JR that they remove. It's like, why don't we get rid of Vince? Vince is no good at this. Let's get rid of Vince.
Yeah. The other thing I was really surprised at watching this, I always thought, you know, because when we've gone back and watched stuff, we've just watched sort of episodes here and there. We haven't like done a full walkthrough, and it's obvious that Vince is the owner of WWE. Yeah. Whereas I thought that came out after Survivor Series. And
no, yeah, it basically Bret Hart outed him.
Right.
In one of the early episodes of Raw.
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to Bret Hart's heel turn in a bit, because he's been bloody working on that for a few months.
He really has. He's working hard on it without even knowing. Like, I think Bret didn't even know that he was becoming a heel, and he was becoming a heel. That's the craziest thing about it. So the Sultan is going to take on Rocky Maivia for the Intercontinental Championship. I couldn't help but notice, Glenn, there was a sign in the crowd that said "Disco Forever," and I knew Glenn. That would make Glenn smile because Glenn's a big disco fan.
As long as they meant disco and not a certain gentleman that I happen to share a name with that I'm totally disgusted with.
Are you disco?
Well, There was a period when they were putting silhouettes of that gentleman that you share a name with in the WWF magazine and teasing that he was going to come, and then I think he just re-signed with WCW and they ended up bringing Honky Tonk Man in. And it's like,
no shit.
Oh,
I didn't know that was a thing.
what is the worst evil? Bloody Disco Inferno or the Honky Tonk Man? Oh,
anyone that you're going to tap up and it's disco. It's like,
yikes. Yikes. This had a really good chance to be. So Rocky Maivia got a really good pop from the Chicago crowd when he first came to the ring, and I was a bit shocked by that because he gets kind of a mixed reaction in most of the shows that we see from him, but he really got a good pop from the crowd in Chicago.
Yeah. I think they were just confused with the Sultan and his entourage. I mean, putting the Sheik and Bob Backlund together, it's like, and everyone likes the Sheik, and he's just passed away. We've all got fond memories of him, but I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Mid-South recently, and I know he'd retired for 10 years by this point, but if he'd have had someone like Skandar Akbar as his manager, who's sort of in that role but can cut a really decent promo, I think that would have been better than this sort of 1983 entourage that he had with him.
Yeah.
Well, we watched an episode of Raw a few weeks ago, and all they did was come out and shout and just totally get ignored with what was going on in the ring. Who was it Rocky was fighting?
It was some jobber. They just had him in a jobber match.
It was just a jobber match for him. He just totally ignored them, and they're yelling and screaming. And
I think that's what everybody does with Bob Backlund. He just yells and screams, and it's not just like you can't understand him. People are just like, yeah, whatever, walk away.
And why does a sultan have a jockstrap on his face? What's going on here?
Yeah,
I feel sorry for poor Rikishi. Why would you take a Samoan? Samoans, don't wear boots or shoes. They're nearly 99% are barefooted, apart from the Usos, who have their special designer trainers. But most of them, especially at this time, running around barefoot. Why would you put him not only in a pair of shoes, but a pair of shoes with curled up toes?
I'm just astounded we've learned that Kevin Von Erich's a member of the Bloodline now.
Who knew? I'm shocked about that.
It was a weird one because they did have like a family story to tell here, didn't they? And they just ignored it for this weird. Let's cram these three people together that really don't belong together, and what should we package them as, Bruce Pritchard?
Right, like I don't understand the gimmick. Like, what's he supposed to be? The only Sultan that people are aware of is the fucking guy from Aladdin. We don't know what you're talking about. What's he supposed to be?
It was, and this is what I mean about the being a massive discrepancy on the show with some stuff that feels really cutting edge and up to date, and it's just about to like get there, and some stuff that's really stuck in the 80s. And
yeah, this was definitely well stuck in the 80s.
Yeah, they also show us that Tony Atlas is sitting in the crowd because of course he is, because he's been following Rocky around in a van for the past week or two. So nice to see Tony Atlas in the crowd.
We did review a show where someone had a sign in the crowd for the Soul Patrol, and they'd drawn a picture of them in a boat together for just reasons.
That's something. I think that the longer the match started going, like the Sultan started to take control of Rocky, I did start to hear some Rocky sucked chants start to murmur through the crowd. And when you look at shit like this, I think this is one of the reasons why it was so hard to get him over at first, because you got him facing this silly fucking guy with a jockstrap on his face. He's got Bob Backlund out here screaming nonsense about the fucking Second Amendment. I don't even know what's going on. Like,
no.
Rocky.
On commentary, Jim Ross is just telling us about his college football career. It's like, he's an excellent darts player, so this is going to transition, isn't it? You know,
he's really good at billiards. So I recently went back and watched the 1993 King of the Ring, And Jim Ross and Bobby Heenan are doing commentary, and Ross keeps bringing up how everybody went to this college and that college, and Bobby Heenan goes, "Do you know anybody who didn't go to college?" And it was just so timed and hilarious.
Oh, Heenan was brilliant.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first few minutes of this match, but then the pace of it really started to slow down, and it really got boring. And plus, listening to the Honky Tonk Man on commentary is a lot like listening to Booker T. Not good.
Yeah, it's a damning indictment. We've heard a lot of Stevie Ray commentary on the Nitros and Thunders we've been covering. He's so much better than Booker T.
Suckers gots to know.
Yeah, it's like one of them got all the championship accomplishments, and one could actually commentate.
Hey, WWE, bring in Stevie Ray to do NXT, please.
The trouble is it's all over quite quickly. They do, they get through it pretty quickly, but then it doesn't end.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it didn't feel quick when the Sultan had that nerve hold on.
Exactly.
Oh,
It was Rocky wins. Okay. Well, this is only half of the match gone.
And also,
do you think
that Rocky did to win with was possibly one of the worst roll-ups I've ever seen. The only roll-up that was worse was the one that Steve Austin does to Owen Hart at the '97 SummerSlam, and that's because his fucking limbs weren't working. So there's no excuse for how bad this roll-up was from The Rock. It was terrible.
Do you think they were piping in chants for The Rock? Because there seems to be a lot of people sat on their hands, and there was a fair bit of noise for him.
I think there may well have been, because, as Brent said, there was a few Rocky Sucks chants you could just about hear.
Yeah.
There was a couple points during the show where I thought they were piping in sound. It felt like they maybe this over the DVD or whatever, they threw some sound over. That's just what it sounded like to me at points, because there was a lot of times where there was just nobody in the crowd doing anything but sitting on their hands. There was a lot during the show when they were just sitting on their hands. So they try to interview Rocky, but the Sultan attacks Rocky from behind. Also, like the worst time interview ever. Like The Rock just gets this roll up, he rolls out of the ring, and then there's Jim Ross standing there waiting for an interview, almost as if he knew the finish.
He was just hanging around for the off chance of talking about college sports.
Jim Ross was scouring the first row to find out everybody's college sports acumen. So yeah, Sultan starts beating up Rocky. He's getting some encouragement from the Honky Tonk Man. The Sheik locks in a camel clutch, not making that up. He really did. The Sheik's like 70 here. Locks in a camel clutch on The Rock. And then, Glenn, somebody shows up, and it wasn't fucking Tony Atlas, was it?
No, it was Rocky Johnson.
No, I liked this because we get to see The Rock and his dad together, and Rocky Johnson is one of those people that didn't get too much talked about or brought back for events over the years. Is one of them that they tried to sweep under the rug for a very long time. But Tony Atlas has been following The Rock around for weeks. He literally came to protect him on an episode of Raw before this WrestleMania. He sat on the front fucking row between Captain Lou Albano and stuff, and he just sits there and watches it all.
Amazing.
It's almost like in cricket when you can go for your decisions and you've got to choose when you're going to go. It's like, are we going to send it to the video ref? No, I'm going to save this one for later.
Well, just like when I was talking about the top 5 movies, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So,
I thought you got your back for that American films earlier.
Sorry. Yeah. When I come on your show, you're going to give me cricket facts, okay? So that's what I wrote, that exact same thing in my notes. I said, I don't know what the fuck Tony Atlas is doing. Maybe he went back to the band. I'm not sure.
I don't know what the history is between The Rock and Rocky Johnson, but when Tony Atlas saved him, there was a real good warm embrace there. But with Rocky Johnson, after he saves him, it was a sort of tentative hug, shall we say, and that was it.
Well, we'll never know now. Young Rock's being cancelled.
We're not going to get to that part. Darn it. I think there has been times in Rock's life where him and his father were estranged, but I thought that they were on pretty good terms in 1997. But I don't know. Maybe he just hadn't seen Tony Atlas in a while. It was funny on commentary too. They're like, did Rocky even know that Rocky Johnson was here? No, he just showed up. He just
bought a ticket.
He happened to be in the area.
I did wonder at the Slammies though, because we do see Tony Atlas at a table, and he's got a young lady next to him, and there's been all the rumours about Tony Atlas's preferences, and
yes.
So yeah, she might have been into some kinky shit.
Uh-oh. Somebody might need to call 911. Anyway, interview with Ken Shamrock comes up next. He just kind of talks about how he beat up Billy Gunn on Monday Night Raw. Sometimes you got to fuck around and find out, and that's what happened to Billy Gunn. They asked him about the match between Austin and Bret Hart, obviously, and he says he's just here to raise the winner's hand, and he will not be intimidated. He says he's also. I can't wait till we see him later because he's got a referee shirt on that's smaller than anyone Vince McMahon has ever worn, and that's saying something.
It was very tight.
At least he wasn't wearing Finn Balor trunks. That's the
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, darn it. The next one is an interview with Triple H with Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He's going to discuss his relationship with China, and we're going to hear a little bit of this promo.
With China, I mean, is she a personal assistant? Is she an employee? Is she your boss? What is the deal?
Doc Hendricks, this is WrestleMania 13. We're in Chicago, Illinois. It's the granddaddy of them all. And as far as China goes, you don't need to know anything about it.
All right, be that as it may, what about right now? Gold Dust. We've seen China get involved, attack Marlena. Can you take Gold Dust one-on-one straight up?
I can take Gold Dust any way I want. Today I'm going to take him straight up, one-on-one. But the big loser is going to be Marlena because you had the chance and you turned it down. So your special talent had better be running with China at ringside tonight, Marlena.
I don't know if you really want to say I can take Goldust any way I want him. I just don't know if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I didn't think that one through, did it? I did pop for this moment because, when he said about coming on and reviewing WrestleMania 13, I'd literally just watched WrestleMania 14, and Shawn Michaels' haircut is a tribute at 14 to Hunter's haircut at 13.
Well, Hunter did win best hair at the Slammies, so
he certainly did.
Another thing is if I'm Marlena and I know I got to go out there and get fucking flung around by China, I'm probably just gonna call it sick. That's what I would do.
Well, we saw that swim costume she had on that she totally don't have dark. She certainly did have in trouble in that area. Everything was very tight and tidy.
I guess that's a good point.
She should have just whipped out an oversized laptop to China where it would have been fine.
That's what if she hit her over the head with like a 1990s laptop, that's doing some serious fucking damage. It's not like these 12-pound things we got now. Those things were like fucking 40 pounds. So I was really hoping that this match would save the show because so far it's been a goddamn mess. This was a pretty good, decent match. I think this is where the show kind of starts to turn the corner a little bit from where it went from being, hokey and campy to an actually good show. Like Rob said, where there's points in this show that look like they don't belong here, and then, points where it looks like it's getting to cutting edge. And I think this is around the point where the show starts to get more cutting edge.
Cutting edge. There's references to Mr. Ed the Talking Horse in this match. I'm saying this is cutting edge. Although, ironically, just before I watched this, I did watch the Mr. Ed the Talking Horse episode on wrestling, starring Ricky Starr, who was an absolute genius, World of Sports in the 60s sort of thing. But I don't know if it did turn the corner here. It might have been thinking about turning the corner here. There was a bit, though. Triple H comes off the top rope and Goldust blocks his attack with his ass. And we just covered an episode of Wrestlicious, and there was the exact same spot. And the commentator said it was shades of Pampero Firpo versus Pedro Morales from The Garden in 1972. So when I saw that, I was like, yes!
Goldust got the move from, I guess. And then there was like a spot where Goldust gets Triple H, gets him like tied into the ropes, but he's like, it's not on the inside of the ring, it's on the outside of the ring. Yes. He's like on the apron, and he just starts like kicking the shit out of him. And I just don't think I'd seen a lot of guys tied up in the apron on the other side very often, so I thought that was pretty cool. Glenn Marlena was really working on that cigar out there, wasn't she?
Oh, she was.
She was chewing it, wasn't it? They actually said at the Slammies that there's no teeth marks in that cigar. Well, they bloody were at WrestleMania 13.
chewing on that motherfucker. Yeah.
Mm.
She's probably thinking about she's going to get harassed by China. She's like, oh, God.
Yeah, so it was a bit... Because the finish there is where Marlena gets up on the apron and gets the Harley Race knee from Triple H into China, isn't it? And then Goldust gets rolled up.
Yeah.
It was a pretty interesting finish the way they did it. I thought, because he kind of like, it was like, I think it was like a reversal. I think Triple H was, or Goldust was trying to throw Triple H into the ropes, and Triple H reversed it. And then it knocked Marlena right into China's arms. And then I think Goldust turned right around and got the pedigree, I think. And that's how we beat him. And then, the funniest thing to me about this is that, China's whipping Marlena around, fucking her up big time. She's really hurt on the mat. And they send no one out to help her. Not a soul. No medical, nothing.
No, for the second time in a row.
Yeah, thank God we didn't see Terry Taylor run in, though. That's the only thing I'm...
Thank God. We need that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Marlena does ragdoll well.
Oh, yeah.
She flops around like a good one.
Definitely. 100%.
She does. And for all that I've said about her WCW career, she did have an amazing presence as sort of Marlena in, she could just sit there and, that had so much charisma that the camera was completely drawn to her. So I think she was a decent character in WWF.
And I think like when she started talking and they like made her like, I don't know, more of a character, I think it took away from the mystique of it. I thought it was better when she just didn't talk and she just kind of stood in the background. I thought that was really a really good way to play it, especially with that early Goldust stuff, because bringing a woman into the whole thing kind of like threw everybody for a loop. That was way ahead of its time, that Goldust stuff. That was some really good shit.
Yeah, because it was, is he, dizzy, or is he, or isn't he? And
yeah, which luckily for Todd Pettengill, he wasn't, because Todd Pettengill won a $100 bet, as we learned from the Slammy Awards.
Todd Pettengill risked his life by, shall we say, insinuating that China may have had more bits than she should have. As a lady.
I would. You couldn't have paid me enough to say that.
No.
There was some off-color Jerry Lawler remarks on WrestleMania as well about China. So
yeah. Lines in the crowd too that I was like, I'm surprised that they even I'm surprised they didn't edit those out when I saw them.
It does make you wonder when you do see signs on the network that are blurred out. It's like, what on earth do they say if you pick this in?
That's it.
Wait, was there an actual picture of a guy's penis on there, or what the fuck is going on? What was on there that was so bad?
There's one a bit later on that I saw, and it was like,
we'll come to it. Is gay in real life, and if you're not going to block that out, then I don't know what you're going to block out.
I know the guy that had one that said, "Yo, I'm a bum."
Well, you're at a wrestling show, we know.
Yeah.
No, the one that I'm thinking of, it's on in the main event, and it says it's like Dino bum me a smoke, and obviously Dino Bravo was killed for his involvement in smuggling cigarettes. The mafia power hit on him, and it's like.
I feel so bad for laughing so hard at that, but it's so funny. As soon as you said that, I was going to put my hand over my mouth so I didn't seem insensitive, but then you guys started laughing, so I was like, oh, fuck, I'll laugh too. That's a good sign. They show HBK in the back after the match. He's trying to figure out how to work a computer. He's chatting on AOL, which was a major deal in 1997. Like, I can't explain to people who don't know what AOL is what a major deal chatting online on AOL was in 1997. It was all the rage.
It certainly was.
You had some emails waiting for you. You had to dial in, grab your emails, get off the phone line as quickly as possible.
Yep. And no one was going to be able to call your house if you were on the computer at the same time. You couldn't do it.
Yeah, writing your reply offline and then dialing back in to send it and then getting back off again.
Yeah, just like that. Try streaming your video games on dial-up. It ain't going to work.
You certainly couldn't do anything surreptitious on it. There's the modem screaming, I'm working.
Yeah. I had friends back in the day who would go into lesbian chat rooms and pretend to be lesbians, and I think about it now. I'm like, it was probably just a bunch of guys pretending to be lesbians. That's all it was. A bunch of 14-year-old boys pretending to be lesbians. That's it. That's all it was.
Nothing pretending about it. They like women.
You know what, Glenn? You make a lot of sense sometimes. I don't quite get there. All right, Rob, I'm going to say this is where the show turns the corner, right?
Yes, just about.
Yeah, it's on the cusp here.
It's turned its blinker on. The show has turned on its blinker. I don't know if you guys use blinker over there. I think you do, right?
Yeah, because it's my favorite bloody outcome for these matches in 1997.
Yeah, it's the WWF's favorite outcome to tag team matches in 1997.
Yeah.
It's Mankind and Vader taking on the Bulldog and Owen. It's a tag team title match. You guys think this version of Paul Bearer is really weird?
Yes.
Yes.
Why has he got the urn with Mankind and Vader? What's going on there? Because the urn's supposed to hold like the Undertaker's power and stuff, and it is literally just bringing it along with him as a memento or something.
Yeah.
That was the story behind it, that he stole it from the Undertaker.
Yeah, but why would you carry it around with you?
So it could be used as a weapon.
Yeah. He should have done a large laptop. That would have helped him. I did. There were a couple of bits that I really did enjoy and that got mentioned here. Vince McMahon saying we're live on Sky Sports 1, which was a great memory when we didn't have to pay for pay-per-views over and above the sports subscription. And Jerry Lawler said the only 90210 that Vader's seen is on the weighing scales, and that's a nice callback because Jenny Garth, who was in 90210, was the special guest at WrestleMania 10.
She was. That's like 6 degrees of
Yeah,
it's Kevin Bacon in this shit.
Yeah, he's in there somewhere.
I'm surprised they never got Kevin Bacon on a WrestleMania. They should have. Missed opportunity.
But I'm sure he was in something that someone else was in.
Oh, absolutely. Garth and him were in something together. I also heard that she was like one of the worst guests, one of the worst guests that they had at WrestleMania to deal with. I guess that she was just like a super stuck up, like wouldn't talk to anyone. That's what I heard on the Bruce Pritchard podcast. Anyway, she could have been a sweetheart. I don't know. Anyway,
She was no Cindy Margolis.
no, she wouldn't get locked. She didn't get locked in the figure 4 by Jeff Jarrett, so she's no Cindy Margolis.
Is it Lou Ferrigno at WrestleMania 4, and they're asking him, he's a fan of wrestling, and he's talking about Angelo Poffo and stuff, and people that have never wrestled for WWF, who's his favourite wrestlers.
They're like, huh?
Yeah, and he was like, get him out of camera, and he keeps talking.
Ferrigno. That's why he was just a Hulk. They never let him have any lines on the show. The Owen and the Bulldog got a decent pop from the crowd when they first came out, and I kind of think that was because this is kind of a heel versus heel match, and I guess if you're going to pick one to root for, you're going to root for the guys who don't have weird masks and pull their own hair out, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
They should have stuck the Sultan with these guys, shouldn't they?
Although, if you think in the last few weeks, Davey's been getting over a lot more than Owen has. Owen's been doing all the really heel shit, and Davey's been trying to stop him. Apart from the one time when Davey used the slammy.
Oh yeah. They sent JR over to try to interview Bulldog before the match. He asked Bulldog if he's upset that Owen said he was smarter than him, and that he's the leader of the team. Basically, Owen tells him to shut up, stop stirring up the Bulldog. Bulldog says pretty much the same thing, but then Owen Hart makes sure to let JR know when Bulldog is 10 steps away from him, he can't hear him. I am the leader.
But it felt cheeky from Owen as well. It wasn't even like outround his heel. It was just a bit cheeky chappy.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I had a lot of it. And finally, Vader is going to be able to get his hands on Owen Hart from what he did to him at the Slammy Awards the night before. He got all the drinks thrown on him.
Yeah,
Vader takes advantage of this by getting Owen in the corner and lighting him up with some punches.
As he does.
I was surprised at Vader at the Slammies being in a washed suit and tie sort of thing. I thought it would have been more Vader if it had been like stained and dirty.
Should have had like chocolate stains on the collar and everything.
Yeah.
That would have been good. I mean, Owen Hart was really good in this match. He did a lot of cool stuff. He had a nice spinning heel kick. Some fun opening moments of the match. The match was really hard hitting at points. I thought it was a Lucha Rules match because there was like no tagging and people just ran in whenever they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got in my notes, somehow Bulldog and Mankind appear to be legal now.
I guess it's because the old thing. Remember back in the day, they used to let the heel members of the tag teams get in and out of the ring without tagging, and the referees wouldn't say anything. So I guess since they're both heel tag teams, they're just going to let people do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
But that was supposed to be behind the referee's back. The ref just watched him now.
There's a bit I loved about this as well, where Davey's got hold of Vader. Now, for Davey to lift Vader like he did over his head, it takes a lot for Vader to help him to do it. But even through the mask, the surprised look on Vader's face was better acting than I thought Vader ever could.
Yeah. I thought that was that should have been a really big spot. And again, the crowd just didn't seem to engage with it somehow.
Yeah, they had a couple really big spots. I think he body slammed Vader too, and then he kind of like Vader was jumping off the rope and he countered it with a power slam, and that still got no reaction from the crowd. Nothing at all. I thought Mankind and Vader made a pretty good tag team here. They look like a well-oiled machine. I mean, they look like a better tag team than Owen Hart and Bulldog did at times, but I guess that was also the story they were trying to tell at that point.
It's the power of the urn.
The urn, yeah.
I'm wondering if this sort of lost something with the crowd because they teased the friction between Davey and Owen for so long, and then just before WrestleMania, they sort of pulled back on it.
It did feel like that. It's like they're supposed to be doing this frenemies thing, and it's almost like a friendly rivalry at this point.
That's it. It's no wonder if people just lost interest in it because it'd been going on for weeks, and we'd seen watching the Raw to Raw, we'd seen the build up of the tension between them. And then it was like somebody just stuck a pin in the balloon and all that tension went away.
Yeah.
I think I know why they kind of are backing off on the tension between the two of them. And I think it has a lot to do with what's going to come up with Bret Hart in a couple of weeks. Because they're going to kind of all combine them all back together again. So I think that's why they wanted to keep. I think that's why they kind of were kind of laying off on the tension between the two of them.
No, they went to see Dr. Shelby. They had anger management, and they became a tag team.
Yeah, just like Team Hell No, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the part that was funniest to me is like Owen's looking for Bulldog to get a hot tag. He finally gets the hot tag to Bulldog. Bulldog comes flying across the ring, and he hits Vader so hard that Vader's mask comes off. And I thought it was so funny.
It was like a Lego man, wasn't it? Just
It was like a rock'em sock'em robot. It was fucking crazy.
Which we at this point they're sponsored by Milton Bradley's Karate Fighters, aren't they? So
yeah.
I got your next. I have your next mini series there, Rob. How about you check out the Karate Fighters tournament?
We did actually review the episode after the final, and I'd accidentally watched the wrong episode, and the episode after the final is turgid. But the one before, it was like, oh my god, this karate. And I was telling Dan, I was like, no, seriously, you have to watch the Karate Fighters. It's better than
the Karate Fighters shit was pretty fucking good. I liked it. So eventually they're fighting on the outside. There's a double count out. Mankind's got the mandible claw locked on the Bulldog, and he won't let go for nothing.
That was evil. He locked it when he's got him sort of hanging over the rope. He locked it in and then just followed him to the floor with it, thrusting his fingers further down his throat.
It was a great visual, though, because he sort of adds into this thing that, Mankind's this crazy character that, once he's in that headspace, is a monster and he won't let go. So I did like it from that point of view, but it was probably an awful spot to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit probably didn't feel good. But yeah, no. So it ends in a double count out finish, which seems to happen quite often with these tag team matches. But I don't really have a huge issue with that because, what were you really going to do? And either one of these teams losing or winning doesn't really matter because they're both heels anyway. And I thought it was a good match considering, it's heel versus heel. And if you put it up against everything else we've shown so far, this is fucking 5 stars.
Well, you got 4 of the best in the ring. What?
Right.
It should have been.
Definitely. Then they show us a cool video recapping the feud between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart. And I will say it was really good to hear Todd Pettingill's voice in this and not listening to him sing, because he sings like shit.
Yeah.
Well, this has been through post-production, though, hasn't it? This isn't live, so they've had a chance to edit him out.
That's a good point.
Can we just try it this way, Todd, rather than singing it? Just try it, and we'll use your version.
Right. No, we will, but maybe the fans don't want to hear you sing about Stone Cold and Bret Hart. Maybe just this time. I'm just saying we'll try it, Todd. We'll try it. The next match, as JR would say, business is about to pick up. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin battling Bret Hart in an I Quit match with Ken Shamrock as the special guest referee. This has
the pre-show is over. WrestleMania has started.
The fireworks have just went off, and the show is ready to go. Yeah. This has to be one of the most iconic entrances in wrestling history, where Austin, they show him coming from the back. They have the Austin 316 glass on the entranceway. It crashes down to the floor as he comes walking through. And wow.
Somebody's having to sweep up the glass. I love that. You actually see somebody trying to sweep up the glass.
I've been at an indie show after a death match, and they've been cleaning up the ring, and there's been a chant, "Let's go dustpan, let's go brush." But there is so much that's been turned into a GIF from this week of wrestling. That thing with Stone Cold in his shirt and bow tie, like staring daggers, and Stone Cold coming through the entrance here. It really annoys me that there's a lot of 90s culture that isn't on GIFs, because old people don't make GIFs, unfortunately, and I'm not clever enough. But from this show and the Slammies and all, there's loads of stuff.
Yeah,
definitely. Sometimes I look up stuff for GIFs for like 90s wrestling and I can't find anything. I'm like, what in the fuck? Wow. How is there not any GIFs of Thunder and Lightning from WCW in 1993? How is that possible? Thunder and Lightning.
Yeah, it's just all those Fire and Ice ones that are keeping it out of the search engine.
That's it. I'm going to just start making GIFs. That's going to be my whole entire thing. I'm going to quit my job and just make GIFs. I'm just kidding. Anyway. So I've seen this match. I'm sure all of us have seen this match more than 5 times each, I'm sure. One of my favorite parts of this match, though, is when Bret first comes out, he gets into the ring and he starts to walk towards Austin, and they have like a behind camera shot, and Austin kind of leans back in the corner like this, and then immediately explodes and takes Bret Hart down and just starts beating on him. And I just thought that it was just a fucking awesome way to start the match.
It's absolutely brilliant. There are some really good spots in this match, and it's a really decent match. It's just a shame that the memory of it is that Bret Hart's walked in as this ultimate face, and there's a double turn at the end, and Stone Cold's walked in as a heel, and that isn't true. It's like they've been building Bret Hart up to.
When you go back and watch it, you'll see Bret Hart gets, and they both get cheers when they come out, but Bret Hart gets like a roar reaction when he first comes through the curtain. And there's a lot of stuff that Bret does during that match that gets a real roar reaction. And there's one from Austin where he really gets one, where Bret's up on the top rope, and then Austin grabs the chair and he just fucking clobbers Bret on the head. The fans went nuts for that one. The place came unglued when that happened.
I love it when Bret goes out for the chair and he picks up the wrong chair, and then he realizes he has to get the gimmicks chair. And you can see on the gimmicks chair, there's like they've scraped off with a coin some of the paint on the seat, so I'll know which one it is.
I think they got like some coffee spilt on it or something, because there was like a puddle or something on it when he picked it up.
Yeah.
Well, if it was that color, I hope it was coffee.
No kidding. They start brawling through the crowd at the beginning. Did y'all see the really drunk guy in the jacket? The brown jacket?
I didn't see him, but I just want to mention the jacket that Ahmed Johnson was wearing on the previous Raw. What the hell was that about? It was like 4 sizes too big for him.
Trying to figure out what the fuck's going on with Ahmed Johnson is going to be a whole nother podcast.
You just wait till Big T turns up in WCW.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, Jesus. I just noticed this drunk guy because he rubbed Austin's head and he rubbed Bret Hart's head. And he looked like Captain Lou Albano rubbing Mankind's head at the Slammies. And I just thought it was so weird. And even the King mentions him. He says, hit that drunk with the jacket on. And he means that guy that I was just talking about.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, there is a bit where Austin reverses Bret's Irish whip and throws him into the guardrail, and it's just in front of Captain Lou and Arnold Skoland and Tony Atlas. It's really weird that the celebrities that they brought, the former wrestlers that they brought back, because they went through all this period where they weren't acknowledging a lot of those people's careers, and then all of a sudden they're just here at WrestleMania 13 for reasons.
Yeah.
Well, Tony Atlas is here because he's just stalking The Rock.
Apart from tonight, is just going to keep a respectful distance.
Yeah.
Captain Lou Albano was in the back and he was so drunk. They said, "Hey, why don't you go sit ringside? Just go out there. Yeah, fans will love it. Get out of here, you crook son of a bitch."
This fighting through the crowd, though, it was excellent. Basically, because obviously the cameramen weren't taking any instructions from the production truck and hadn't a clue what was going on. We're trying to keep up for it, so it actually added a sense of reality to it.
It's like watching WCW.
Yeah. When it kept on losing them and then catching up with them again.
I love the bit where Austin grabs a drink from the concessions guy and then throws it at Bret.
He takes a big gulp and then chucks it. There's a part too where Austin picks up the steel steps and he's getting ready to hit Bret with them, and Bret kicks him in the gut. And the way Austin's right leg bends, it looks like he'll never be able to walk again, but somehow he's fine. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
I think we all know that his legs are just held together by those supports by this time, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bit in the main event where Sid keeps coming off the second rope, and I'm going, oh no, don't Sid, don't we know this is gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna end well.
Yeah. I didn't ever notice it. I've watched this match a bunch of times, but I didn't realize it on the commentary until right now. But there's a part where Austin hits a stunner on Bret Hart, and they do a little foreshadowing for us. Jerry King Lawler says something along the lines of, "Oh, you don't want to knock him out because then he's not going to be able to quit." And then JR goes, "Well, if he knocks him out, the referee will have to end the match." And I think that was just a little bit of foreshadowing that they were doing for us, laying the groundwork.
So you were implying that this was set up?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. No, 100% on the up and up. And I always find it weird during Bret Hart matches that he does the sharpshooter as his finisher. And I know you have to lock someone's legs around your leg, but it doesn't really hurt your legs. It more hurts your lower back. But he's always working on the person's knee. And they're like, oh, he's softening him up for the sharpshooter. But the sharpshooter more hurts your lower back than it does so much your knee.
That's right. He's supposed to bend your back and make it painful to your back more than your legs.
Yeah.
There seems to be this whole thing about how wrestlers understand wrestling and how the real world works. It's it's like that nerve hold that they were doing in the Triple H match, and there's just stuff that hurts because it's wrestling rather than real life.
Yeah.
Or the fact that if someone lands a drop kick, it doesn't hurt when they hit the mat, but if they miss the drop kick, it hurts like hell when they land on the mat. Yeah. Just one of those things, I guess. Bret Hart does that cool figure four wrap around the ring post thing, which gets a gigantic pop from the crowd. So another subtle little thing that I liked in this match was Bret goes to the outside, he grabs the ring bell and the chair. Rob already talked about this when he grabs the wrong chair and then make sure he grabs the right one.
Yeah. Oh, that was another thing going back to the Nation of Domination against.
Well, we haven't watched
LOD.
that.
Sorry?
We haven't talked about that one yet.
What, LOD and Nation of Domination?
Yeah, that's after this match.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, of course it is. That's all right. I'll get confused.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Oh, dear.
And in fairness to you, Glenn, they put the fucking matches that all had all the fucking.
That's because I was talking about it earlier on. It should have been the start of the match.
No, yeah.
And I'm an old git, so bear with me on it.
It's fine. I also like the part where they show Bret Hart's daughter in the crowd, where Stone Cold's working Bret over, and she's got hands over. That was really good.
the king says they got her hands over her face so they can't see how ugly she is, like her father.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
It's better than Brett's parents, though. They keep, wheeling him out for all his matches, and they just sit there, stony-faced. I mean, Brett's turning into Stu Hart these days. He's so annoyed at the world.
Yeah, definitely.
It's what value have they added? I mean, the only thing I can assume is they're legitimately paid for front row seats, so the camera just happens to catch them.
I don't think that's it, though.
They're just there as a target for the king, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what they were doing out there. Even in the Owen Bulldog match, like they were watching Owen and Bulldog get the shit kicked out of him by Vader and Mankind, like right next to him. They're like,
okay.
But can you? Someone's had the conversation somewhere. We're going to WrestleMania. Oh, that's amazing. What sort of seats have we got? You're not going to leave this. We're on the front row. But there is a catch. We sat next to Stu fucking Hart. And he is going to suck the enjoyment out of this experience.
He kept asking me if he could have me. I don't know why, but he kept saying, "Can I have you there?" And I was so weird. He had one picture of his wallet. It was some jacked black guy. It was really strange. I don't know. It was weird.
Death Eater of WrestleMania.
Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah, we could go on and on about how great this match was, but it's literally one of the best matches in WrestleMania history.
Even the way that Steve Austin bled was really good. That forehead was pumping away there, especially at the end.
Yeah.
And it's the sign of the times that these days they wouldn't have been able to change that ring mat fast enough. But it's 1997 and no one knows anything about the transmission of diseases.
It's quite essential.
It's like they didn't know about concussion.
None of that stuff. Drug abuse, they didn't know that was a problem. None of that stuff.
You think we used to sit and watch it and nothing. And now you watch it back and you go, oh, ow. Oh.
It's funny because I've seen the screenshots for that AEW Fight Forever game, and it's like there's the mat covered in blood, and this is completely unrealistic. Then you watch WrestleMania 13, you're like, that's where they got it from.
The ending comes. Bret Hart's got Austin the Sharpshooter for what seems like forever. He finally just passes out from the blood loss and the pain. Bret starts beating him up at the end, and I really enjoyed the part with Bret Hart and Ken Shamrock where Bret looks like he's going to do something, but then he backs off like a heel should. Yeah. I thought it was really good stuff.
I mean, Shamrock looked like an absolute star here. I mean, obviously they didn't have the money to bring Tank Abbott in, but they've gone for the next most affordable option.
Yeah,
and he looks like an absolute star.
Yeah, he's wearing like an extra small referee shirt too, so it looked really nice.
But he could have quite easily sort of dominated that match, and he didn't. He actually did a good job of refereeing it. Yep. You didn't actually notice him that much until you had to.
Yeah,
which is good refereeing.
I thought good refereeing was like Mizdowing all the moves in the background and flailing your arms around wildly.
No, that's AEW wrestling. That's AEW refereeing.
So I just want to ask you guys, on your all-time WrestleMania match list, where would you guys rank this one? Glenn, what do you think? Is that top 5, top 10, number 1?
Easily top 5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be top 5. Yeah, I mean, you're sort of thinking off the top of your head. I mean, there's Bret Owen at 10, isn't there? That's a really good match.
Yeah.
Taker
and HBK at 15.
You mean 25? But yeah,
25. That's probably my best. That's probably my favorite match ever. But
I probably got that as number 1 for me too, and then Austin Brett being number 2.
And then Austin Brett would be number 2. Yeah.
Savage Warriors a ridiculously good match considering the Warriors involved because Sherry is on fucking top form.
Yes. She's fucking awesome in that match. That's the best match the Ultimate Warrior ever had by far.
Yeah, by a long way. It's not even close. It's like.
People always say Hogan versus Warrior, but I'm like, have you seen Savage versus Warrior? Because it's light years better than Hogan Warrior.
So certainly not going anywhere near AEW WIP then. It's actually 2 things. It's a good wrestling match, and 2, it involves the Warrior.
Yeah. Well, we like to show stuff that involves the Warrior because it gets Mayor up in a tizzy.
Yeah.
So that's what we like to do because he hates him so much. I remember that Survivor Series we were watching where he said he wanted to dig the Ultimate Warrior up and fight him. That was a classic line. The next up is a promo from Farouk. We're going to hear from old Farouk.
Ahmed Johnson, Legion of Doom, set to meet the Nation of Domination. There are 2x4s, there are billy clubs, there are garbage cans, there are nunchucks. You guys have everything but the kitchen sink.
Well, you forgot they're the thugs also. They say the crooks and the criminals come out at night. Well, guess what? They're out tonight in Chicago. And that punk, colored boy Ahmed Johnson, and the Road Warriors, they're going to get just what's coming to me. You think I don't have the kitchen sink? Well, just wait and see.
Yeah.
I loved this. Now, I don't know if any of you have watched ICW at all. There was a series of matches between Liam Thompson and Wolfgang, and Liam Thompson kept putting things on the line, and he put his house on the line and stuff, and he put his car on the line, and he kept losing. And the only thing he was left with was his kitchen sink, which he used to carry around with him. He had a bindle that he was carrying to the matches with his clothes in, and he was keeping his bottles of urine because that's the only thing he owned. When I saw that sink, I was like, "It's where's my Liam Thompson Sink 316 t-shirt?"
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'd never heard of that before, but that's fucking amazing. That's great. Wow. Man, I'm surprised somebody hasn't nicked that gimmick for TV. Come on. That's good stuff. Well, Baron Corbin kind of didn't. Baron Corbin was kind of doing that. Anyway.
If you had a bindle, though, that would have made it even better.
Bindle would have been really good, yeah. That's fucking amazing. It's like Shaw Samuels at the end of NXT UK where he just didn't have any of his stuff. Remember that, Glenn? Because he lost all his money.
Yeah.
Anyway, so next up is the Chicago Street Fight. The Nation of Domination will take on Ahmed Johnson and the Legion of Doom. Glenn, what do you think? Are there any chances that this feud will end after this match? The whole thing between Ahmed Johnson and the Nation. You think it'll just go away?
No. This is running and running, and this is the mousetrap of 1997.
This keeps going and going. It's the Energizer Bunny of 1997.
It is because JC Ice and Wolfie D are actually given something to do in the Nation. Because when they first did the talent exchange with the USWA, they were bringing them in because they were USWA's biggest draw, and they were just like losing in tag team matches on Raw, and they just sent like over Barry Harwitz as an exchange or something.
Same. So it's the entire Nation too. It doesn't just say that it's Crush, Savio, and Farouk. It's the entire Nation of Domination versus just three other guys, I guess. So it's Ahmed Johnson and LOD versus all these motherfuckers.
D'Lo Brown in the background.
D'Lo Brown was involved in this thing, absolutely.
Savio Vega, D'Lo Brown, a lot. They were all there. The whole
I love that D'Lo Brown's a chartered accountant. It's like in ECW with New Jack and the chartered accountant in the background.
Yeah, definitely. And they're always talking. Every time they talk about no rules matches or street fight. We're gonna bring everything but the kitchen sink. Well, this time LOD and Ahmed Johnson, they've brought it. They
bring the kitchen sink. Yeah.
And I'm wondering where the fuck are the Nasty Boys, because they need to fish in this sink and get some piss in there. That's the only thing I can think of when I saw that sink. Because where are the fucking Nasty Boys?
Looking for
they're in WCW stealing a living at this point.
Pissing in their sinks.
They're pissing in WCW sinks, yeah, and counting a whole bunch of money at the same time, yeah.
That's why there was a spare one to go around that Ahmed Johnson could nick.
At least it wasn't off a balcony.
Yeah,
at least it wasn't. So they started off the match by beating up the White Rappers and even Clarence Mason, which I thought that was really funny when they punched Clarence Mason. I don't know why, but I just thought it was hilarious.
I always thought Clarence Mason was a really good promo, though. He's a great manager to have. I remember that there was a time when he was he managed Owen and Yoko, didn't? Or he was sort of in Cornette's, entourage sort of thing, and they lost the title, and then he got a legal precedent so they wouldn't lose it.
Yeah, and then I remember Diana Hart was saying that Shawn Michaels assaulted her or something, and Clarence Mason was her lawyer or something, and that's when he first came in. And also, JR called a somersault plancha in this match, and I did not see that coming.
I think that must mean something to do with college football.
It's got to be. It's a play the Oklahoma Sooners run. It's called the somersault plancha. Yeah.
Vince probably turned to the king and said, "Is he swearing?"
God damn, JR, we can't talk like that on TV, pal. God damn. We've got this PlayStation Blimp in the house. They don't approve of that. God damn.
Yeah, mini mankind's listening in with.
I want to tell you guys all the weapons that I saw in this match. Okay, you ready? There was a nightstick, a trash can, a 2x4 Hacksaw Jim Duggan style. They used a fire extinguisher, a road sign. They even got out a noose at one point.
Yeah.
I'll let that hang there for a second, ladies and gentlemen. A noose. Yes, they had a noose out.
Yeah.
Which multiple people got hugged literally in this match. Not just one person. This wasn't one spot.
Let's start with Army Johnson. That didn't go well.
No, it didn't go
No.
well. They even grabbed Marlena's director's chair from under the ring and were swinging that shit around, and then pushed her a wrench.
The evening that Marlena's had, she's been ragged around and bear hugged by China. She's had Gold Dust, as far as she knows, Gold Dust has knocked her off the apron, and now the ultimate insult, a director's chair. They'll be smoking the cigars next.
Yeah, goddamn. Is nothing sacred?
You would thought she would have had a better built one though, because he threw it and it just sort of fell apart in the air.
I just hope that a laptop's password protected.
Yeah.
No kidding. Animal hit a pile driver on Farouk on one of the I think it was the French announce table, and that was one strong ass little table because it didn't even bend.
It didn't give a
No. Just bounced off it, didn't they? But it's nice to see Ray Rougeau on the French commentary as well, though. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's always good to see Ray. He's the Rougeau brother that everybody likes.
Yeah. But that's not so basically after that then they decide that they're going to try and take out because it didn't work the first time, we'll take out the French announce table again and managed to obliterate it the second time.
Yeah, they did.
And Farouk threw it, didn't he?
Yeah.
How good was that fire extinguisher, though? They must have used it about 10 times. I mean, you could put out...
There was 3 fire extinguishers. There was 2 gimmicked ones, and there was the one that nearly killed everybody. Because somehow it's a story that I've managed to research on this, is that there were 2 gimmicked ones that they were supposed to use, and there was a real one that somehow got under the ring by mistake. And the first one they let off was the real one, and nearly not only killed the first row of the audience, but King JR and Vince as well as everybody ringside.
You wouldn't have noticed with Stu and Helen Hart, though, would you? They've just been sat there stony face.
Everybody would have been collapsed around, and they would have just been sitting there going...
Just as animated as they were before.
Yeah. Facial expressions still haven't changed. Yeah, JR even says on commentary, I think, hell of a place to sit if you've got asthma, I think is what.
Yeah.
Because you can see it too. It was like leaving residue everywhere. And you don't usually see that from gimmick ones.
Because if you notice,
residue everywhere.
Because if you notice the third one, because Farouk's already let one real one off, he's not trusting this one, and he fired into the air before he started spraying people just to make sure that wasn't a real one.
But it's good that JR had the WWF snark years before his AEW snark.
Yeah. He's been working on that snark for a while. Yeah. To call this match a fucking a clusterfuck would be an understatement, because it was a total clusterfuck. People were flying all over the place. There's shit everywhere. It went 6 or 7 minutes longer than it needed to. It was a lot longer than it needed to go.
I actually enjoyed it. I'm sorry.
The crowd loved it. The crowd were on fire for this match.
Yeah.
If you think about the story of what's been happening with the Nation of Domination, it always had to culminate in this sort of clusterfuck. And this is the first time that they've either won or lost cleanly in a match.
That's a very good point.
one of my guilty pleasures is the original Glow. And every 3 or 4 episodes, there's a match like this with chainsaws and people running around with scant regard for health and safety, and I just love it.
I would have liked it more if it hadn't went for so long. I just felt like it was too long. It was good for a little. It was good for about 5 minutes, but then it just started to get like clusterfucky for me.
I think the thing that wasn't great was there were a lot of repeated spots. Yeah. So we're going to hang someone with the noose. That should be a one-off thing. That should be a big thing. But when we're multiple people are being hung over the top rope with that one noose and multiple fire extinguishers, if you just used those things sparingly, it would have been better.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, there was no need to be hanging animal after they already had a go at Ahmed Johnson.
Right, exactly.
Do you think they were worried about the optics of Ahmed being in that position, and they thought if we do it to Animal as well, we've covered ourselves?
Yeah, I think it might well have been.
That does make a lot of sense. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they would have came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to use a noose," I would have went, "I don't think so. It's probably not." Struggle with a camera cord or something. Why would we have a noose?
I saw them hang Chris Travis off a balcony at Preston City Wrestling, so this was quite tame.
Oh yeah, that was. I was at that. That was bloody vicious.
Well, yeah,
that was.
No, yeah. So we've been in the same place at the same time, but
no tears in the matrix.
But it's like with Progress. The amount of people that I know have been to the same Progress shows, but you get so many people there that because you didn't know people at the time.
Yeah, not in Unbooking Preston. There's probably only about 100 people there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's burnt down now, that venue.
That's it.
Which could have been an insurance job. Who knows?
I was going to say, I'm sure the insurance company were well happy.
Yeah, so they hit LOD hits a doomsday device, and then they clothesline crush with the 2x4 for the win. What are you going to say there, Glenn?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was going to say that's not the only doomsday device that happens.
Oh yeah, they hit a double one on the White Rappers with Ahmed Johnson holding up one and Animal holding up the other one. That was really cool.
It was.
Yeah, that was a good visual. That was, and the crowd have come to see Legion of Doom come out in the spikes. Ahmed Johnson coming out in spikes again is a bonus, and a double electric chair doomsday device. The crowd are going on happy, and it wasn't even the end.
No.
Yeah. The funniest thing about the end of this is the Legion of Doom, Mocking Animal, fresh as daisies. They could probably do another match. And Ahmed Johnson looks like he has worked a 60-minute Iron Man match that went into overtime. He was blown sky high after this match was over.
I loved Ahmed Johnson in the 90s, but when I go back and look at him, I'm like... maybe the memory of him is better than him himself.
Yeah, his enigma was better than actually him.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the main event here, but first, Shawn Michaels makes his way out to the ring. If you'll remember, he said on Monday Night Raw a couple weeks ago he was going to be calling the main event. As Shawn Michaels makes his way all the way around the ring to slap everyone's hand in the fucking arena.
I can tell you why. They extended his entrance by a bit because after the last match, Taker and Sid basically went to whoever was producing it to whisper in Vince's ear and make it. They basically said there is no way we are going to have a normal wrestling match after that, and that is why on commentary. Eventually, Vince goes, Gorilla Monsoon has decided to make this a no DQ match.
That makes a lot of sense. It's what we're saying at the start of the show. They should have put that 8-man here.
Definitely.
That's right. And you got 2 seasoned pros, the Undertaker and Sid. So they've gone and basically said, there's no way we're going to compete with that. Not with just a normal match between us two.
I figured that they just extended his entrance just so Vince could kiss Shawn Michaels' ass some more. That's basically what this was.
Obviously, there was that in it as well.
Yeah, that's one.
The way Vince was looking at Shawn on Raw, wow. You know, that is true love. And there's this expression that promoters always love their main stars. You know, and obviously Sean was, you know, a big draw, but there's loving your main star, and then there's Dixie Carter inviting them round for pool pictures at the house, and this was Dixie Carter inviting him round for a pool picture.
Yeah, it's definitely lust rather than...
Definitely. And before the main event, we get something that we always like to hear on this show, and that's a promo from Psycho Sid. So let's...
Psycho Sid, this could be the most important night of your WWF career as you meet The Undertaker.
Ty Pettigill, you are right, my friend. WrestleMania is the biggest event of the world. And it comes once a year. But the night when darkness falls, every man, woman, and child will be scared. Except for one person. Only one person is not scared of the darkness, and one person is not scared of the Undertaker, and that is me, my friend. Game we play.
I always gotta yell.
I am the master. I am the ruler of the world.
There you go.
He goes to yell to quiet, to yell to quiet.
Yeah.
There are times in Sid's career when he is brilliant. And then there's times in Sid's career when he's just like, oh, what are you doing, Sid?
This is why we are going to nick your Tank Abbott gimmick and do the Life and Times of Sid once we're finished with NXT UK.
Well, we are still upset about Sid beating Tank Abbott.
We'll have to have you on for that.
It's traumatic, but no, we loved Sid in his Millennium Man gimmick that we've watched through the Tankataris in late '99, and that WCW dub makes Sid better. When I was watching this, I was playing Sid's WCW dub over the top of it for his ring entrance because it makes him feel like a bigger deal.
So finally, the most up in the air WrestleMania main event up until this point, because this is like a flip flop. At first, they wanted to have Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels as the main event of WrestleMania. That went out the window, and then they wanted to do something else, and then they finally landed on Sid versus The Undertaker. And they've totally made this a no disqualification match for the reasons that Glenn just explained. Taker kind of took it back to the old school look here, didn't he?
He certainly did. Yeah, got old school Taker coming out, taking 10 minutes to get to the ring.
Well, that's normal anytime Taker, except when he rides his motorcycle.
Yeah,
he's got like the gray gloves, and he had like those gray things that go over his boots, and he had been wearing purple more recently. I always wondered how he wrestled with those fucking gloves on. His hands had to be so fucking sweaty in those things.
At least it's not MMA Undertaker. This is this spooky paranormal character that is really interested in mixed martial arts and the best puncher in the game. It's like, no, you don't cross Vampiro with Tank Abbott and just stick him on the screen.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. Though.
It really would.
Or we could have just signed Vampiro and Tank Abbott and been happier.
That'd be a hell of a tag team right there. The bell rings, but then Bret Hart makes his way out to the ring. He gets on the mic, and this made me laugh. He calls Shawn Michaels a phony faker and tells him, take your pussyfoot knee injury, and whatever you do, stay out of this match.
Yeah.
Do we think that on this show, Bret Hart was getting paid by the hour or getting paid by the appearance?
I think it's by the appearance, by the way. He kept showing back up,
this is my second WrestleMania appearance this year.
Yeah, I need 2 Mania checks, damn it.
And just you wait.
Hold on there, buddy.
Just before Bret Hart heads to the Tank Abbott Memorial pay window.
Yeah.
He then tells the Undertaker that when you close that cage door in my head, our friendship went out the window. Now there's a new set of rules between you and me. He then tells Sid that I'm the real champion. Everybody knows it. And then Sid says, get your crybaby ass out of here. And hits him with a powerbomb.
Yeah.
Which was great. Everyone loves a Sid powerbomb. And when he lifted him up, did you see he sort of put his hand underneath Bret like a waiter holds a tray of drinks? That's how light Bret Hart was to Sid.
Yeah, that's good. the match finally starts, and what you really want to do in a much anticipated main event match in the opening couple minutes is lock in a bear hug. That's what Sid did.
Of course.
Well, just before that, to get rid of Bret Hart, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, Rene Goulet came out to take him to the back.
Yeah.
Thank God. Rene Goulet with one of the worst haircuts in the history of the world, and he rocked that thing forever.
Yeah, it was awesome, that. Have you ever seen Rene Goulet on Tuesday Night Titans, where he's got his own cookery section?
No, but I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to get on that.
You guys might have a different opinion of this match than me, but it was I didn't expect to get Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero,
No.
Undertaker versus Sid, and I expected it to be slow and prodding, but this was slower and prodding. It was a chore for me to sit through this match. It was 20 minutes long, and it felt every second of an hour long for me. It was really hard.
And it was made worse with the split screen of Shawn Michaels on commentary.
Yes.
Yeah. They do that all the time. They're doing it all the time in 97, or split screens.
Yeah, it's one of
The
those
amount of
things.
matches we've missed. Because you've got a little screen in the bottom corner that's the actual match, and then somebody doing a promo with a big screen.
And I didn't think Shawn Michaels added anything to it, this match on commentary.
No.
I honestly thought he was pretty fucking bad. I mean, he just wasn't good.
All he did was put the Undertaker over.
And talk shit about Bret Hart. That was it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
But there was a good thing about this match. Someone in the front row had a sign that said La Femme Nikita Koloff. And the film that followed Raw was La Femme Nikita.
As Vince refers to every week.
Yeah, they love that. Vince loves that the Femme Nikita girl. He's like, God damn, pal, I love her.
And apparently it's better than Robin Hood.
It's better than the Robin Hood show they show after Nitro, apparently. The most exciting part of the match for me was when they both big booted each other in the face.
That was surprising. Yeah, that was sort of big boots out of nowhere.
I thought they told a really good story, though. That both of them are usually used to being the biggest person in the match.
Yeah.
And, having that advantage and sort of cancelling each other out in a lot of regards.
Well, it showed that, as Brent was saying about the bear hug, Sid's actually got Undertaker off his feet, but he can't hold him there. So Undertaker just sort of slides down him until he's right in his face again.
Yeah, that part wasn't planned. That's probably just what happened.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, yeah.
That's what happens when you grease the Undertaker before the match.
Yeah. Well-greased taker.
And then, as Rob mentioned before, Sid did a lot of top rope and middle rope attacks during this match, 3 or 4 times, which you don't see Sid go off his feet very much. And you'll learn later on in WCW why he doesn't go off his feet very much. This is really weird to me. And he was doing rest holds. I don't recall seeing Sid do a whole lot of rest holds. It was just a strange.
They even mentioned it on commentary that Sid was having to, combat the Undertaker's size by doing stuff that he wouldn't normally do.
Taker goes for a tombstone, but Sid is able to counter the tombstone and hit a tombstone of his own. That just leads to a 2 count, though. And then, speaking of Bret Hart showing up at the pay window, he's back.
Three WrestleMania appearances.
It's his 3rd check. He comes out with a chair. He hits Sid in the back a couple of times. But that doesn't bring an end to the match. They still keep going. Undertaker, for some reason, hits a choke slam on Sid. But then
before that, though, who was back to get rid of Bret Hart again? The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, Rene Goulet.
Well, maybe if Rene Goulet had been blocking the entrance area, we could have kept Bret Hart from getting his 4th WrestleMania paycheck.
Yeah, well, Goulet wants 2 WrestleMania paychecks, doesn't he?
That's a good point.
I mean, you're mocking him, but you'll come to WrestleMania 14. There'll be no Rene Goulet, and you'll be sad.
You're right. I guess you're right. So then, Sid, not the Undertaker. Bret shows back up. He's kind of arguing with Sid he's fighting with Sid on the apron. Then he does that thing where you take the person and wrench their neck on the top rope. He then falls back into the tombstone for the Undertaker for the 3 count, and the Undertaker gets the win here with a little bit of help from Bret Hart. And I I don't think the Bret Hart run-in at the end was, especially the very last one, I don't think it was needed. And I thought it took away from the Undertaker's big victory at WrestleMania by having him seemingly get help from Bret Hart to win. And I just don't think it added anything, because it's not like Bret's not going to feud with Sid now. So I just didn't understand why they had to interject Bret Hart into the match. I just didn't.
No.
That fourth run-in really moved Bret Hart into a bigger house because he's got 4 paydays.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that. Notes on this match you want to talk about, Glenn, before we move?
I just think, why the hokey ending to it?
Yeah.
It's as a big Undertaker fan, it is disappointing where every time they put him in a title shot, they have to come up with a hokey ending for him to win the title. He shouldn't have to. He's a phenom. He should be able to win it without worrying about somebody using a chair or power bombing somebody onto a chair or whatever to help him win.
I can't wait till you start doing your Sid retrospective and you're looking at this through a Sid lens and you're like, Sid was robbed. I can't believe.
Yeah. I'm going to treat him like this.
Yeah, it's right. Sid was robbed. The only one that wasn't robbed out of this is bloody Bret Hart.
I did love it. I did love every time that Goulet ran down. There's Tony Gurria in the background going, I'm not taking a bump. I'm not taking a bump.
Yeah.
That's above my pay grade.
Well, yeah, right. I'm not doing that. You're going to have to up my contract if you want me to take bumps. So, yeah, the show goes off the air with the Undertaker celebrating in the ring with the championship belt. Any final thoughts from you guys on the WrestleMania 13 before we get out of here?
I would say it was a show of two halves. It was a show of 2/3 and 1/3 that felt like it'd really taken off, sort of thing. The last 3 matches, would stand up, not necessarily in terms of in-ring content, but in terms of fan engagement, in terms of them being WrestleMania quality matches. What you think about a showcase of the Immortals are right up there. Before that, it's a little bit creaky.
Yeah. It was basically like you're watching like a WrestleMania 7, and then all of a sudden you're watching like a WrestleMania 14. That's the way it felt. It went from like a really hokey early 90s pay-per-view to like an Attitude Era pay-per-view in the final 3 matches. What about you?
Yeah, it's like they said to Jim Cornette, we'll give you the first hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, so nobody came out of a box, motherfucker.
He was campaigning for it. They just couldn't get a box in time.
There was none in the area.
Imagine if Brad had come out of a box 3 times.
Oh, God. It would have really been over.
They should have started with Ahmed Johnson and the LOD against the Legion of Doom.
I think as well with
against the
with modern pay-per-views, they kind of had this almost middle of the card main event. Cody Rhodes is the king of that before the intermission match, isn't he? Right. And maybe if they put Bret Austin, they started out with the Legion of Doom, had a match, whatever, had Bret Austin at the middle, and then take a Sid at the end. It probably felt like a much more balanced card.
Yeah,
I also think people would look back on the show with better favor if the card placement was better. Because right now, I think people look at this as like a not good WrestleMania. But if you would have stacked the card differently, I think people would be looking at this in a much different light. Yeah,
the trouble is. It didn't really feel like a WrestleMania. That was my big take from it. Sorry.
I liked that for its 2 minutes 45-iness.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that.
But you expect a bit of razzmatazz and stuff from WrestleMania, and it just sort of lacked it. And the slow start to it didn't help.
It's kind of unbelievable that where the company goes in the next couple of years from this point, and they are going to the stratosphere. They are going to the hottest period since Daddy Haystacks in '81. It's unbelievable that Shawn is gone in a year after this. You think of Shawn Michaels' run, and you don't think it's going to be over that quickly, and it is. And where The Rock is a year from now, where Stone Cold is a year from now. this company is moving and moving fast, and we've it's this sort of moment in time, and some of it's good and some of it's, but just the progression it goes from this point is insane.
And that is why we are doing Warrior to Attitude.
And that's why we're doing this show, and that's why we're going to keep watching Raws from 1997 every week and all the pay-per-views. Well, that does it. It was a pleasure having you on, Rob. We need you to let everybody know where can they listen to you? Where can we find you? Where can we follow you? Let us know.
Well, Glenn normally shouts all this stuff out for me, which I'm extremely grateful for. It's been banging the drum for us, so that is very much appreciated. It really, really is. You can find me at UTTRob. It's really more about the mutuals than it is about the followers. I'm absolutely more than happy to follow back. Our main show on Booking the Territory, we're looking at the first and lasts of wrestling, so debuts, finales, that kind of thing. Coming up, we're doing an episode. It's the last episode. We're doing the last episode of WWE wrestling before Superstar started in the 80s, which is a great show. And we're doing WCW Snow Brawl and Beach Brawl, which is absolutely insanity. The WCW's one trip to Mexico. So we've got some interesting stuff there. We've got a couple of side projects that you keep mentioning on here as well. And again, I've sort of alluded to certainly on Booking the Territory, where we follow the ups and downs of the in-ring career of, if you could afford more than Ken Shamrock, you'd get Tank Abbott. So we're following Tank Abbott's career. And that's been an absolute joy. I think he only ever had 41 wrestling matches, but it's turned into a life of its own because we've ended up reviewing all the Nitros and Thunders, because we have found a lot of the 99-2000 TV actually really well written television. I know it doesn't get that review in the IWC, but we've got bits coming up to the break where there's hangers at the end of the show, storylines running through the show, and we find it really engaging. So we're perhaps looking at that era of wrestling in a way that a lot of people don't. So it's worth checking out. The other thing, and you said you wanted me to explain why on earth we're doing it, we're looking at the only time that a professional wrestling championship ever changed hands by a legitimate sporting competition, the BTE Gator Golf Series. So on Being the Elite, and I always thought a little bit shortchanged when AEW started, because I used to watch Being the Elite, and Being the Elite was incredibly gimmick focused. We don't talk about him now, he's been redacted, but there's a storyline about who killed Joey Ryan, that kind of thing. And Hangman Page was doing his Kevin Von Erich not wearing shoes because there'd been blood on his boots sort of thing that would link him to the murder and all this sort of stuff. And in the middle of all that craziness, they had a Gator Golf tournament, and we're taking a sporting presentation view to it. So we're not taking this as, because it's not kayfabe wrestling. This legitimately happened. So we're going through with these crazy, wacky wrestling characters that are playing Gator Golf for reasons, for a championship. And it's become insane because we get some ridiculous decisions and we're arguing about, we need VAR and the refereeing's really bad.
That's amazing.
It is. Okay. They really take it seriously.
Well, it's going to get more insane in when we eventually get to season 2 of it, because after the Gator Golf tournament, they went into like playing beer pong and taking field goals and stuff.
Oh shit! I didn't know all that. Wow, that's gonna be something. Wow.
Yeah. So it didn't last too long, and it was a shame. And the reason it didn't last is that they let Sammy Guevara take the title over to his vlog, and it just died a death.
Well, that's because nobody likes Sammy Guevara. Sorry, I'm saying it now. Nobody likes him.
I love the fact that Danny actually gets genuinely upset about some of the things that happen during Gator Golf.
Dan gets ridiculously upset about a lot of stuff. I mean, his feelings towards Jeff Jarrett, the violent vitriol. I can't imagine having that much violent vitriol to anything in our life that isn't Leeds United or Bradford City. But yeah, but no, we're having fun.
League soccer, and no, I get that joke. I get the joke.
I did actually see earlier today. I didn't know this existed. Glenn, you'll remember Soccer AM on Sky.
Yes, yeah.
And back in, the early 90s or whatever, they used to have soccerettes or whatever.
Yeah.
They were ladies that were wearing football shirts who came on and talked about the football teams. They had Angelina Love and Velvet Sky come on as Leeds United fans and taunt Bradford City fans.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Did they let the pigeons loose?
I'll send you the link. Yeah. I'm gonna have to try and convince Dan we need to review Soccer AM for wrestling.
You got anything else you want to plug there, Rob?
Tim Lovejoy was brilliant. I loved him.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed that. But yeah, no, that's what we're doing at the moment. We do have some ideas of where we may go when Tankatori and the Gate of Golf ends, but watch this space.
We will wait with bated breath to find out. Glenn, this is going to be a lot easier for you. What do you need to plug?
Just give me a follow at GA WrestleNut on Twitter, unless you're a sex bot.
They're following you anyway, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I want to know on Twitter how you can block multiple Twitter accounts. I've got about 28 of them that have popped up over the weekend.
You have to do it one by one, Glenn. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's a bloody pain in the ass. Anyway, apart from
do they have come on? Do they have "Come On You Spurs" in the title? Is that why you're blocking them?
That would be one reason, yeah. Anyway, apart from that, give DDT Wrestling, DC and Doc a listen. We've already referred to him, Andy at Bang Bang Podcast.
That's right. We did talk.
British version of a work in progress, basically. So
that's what we like to say. But yeah, make sure you check out Sports Wire Radio. Give our buddy Thomas Bryce a follow on Twitter. It's Thomas Bryce 2017, and on Instagram it is Thomas Bryce 2020. And as always, me and Glenn have another third member of our Freebirds team here. It's the Mayor of Kenton. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter. He does a meal with the Mayor every Wednesday where he reviews fast food. Hopefully the next one he eats is terrible because I want to see him get angry because I like when the Mayor gets fired up.
And you never know when the big Mayor Boski's going to come in and be lewd, shall we say.
The big Mayor Boski is a lot like WrestleMania 13. It comes in soft, but it finishes hard.
That's the sort of thing that happens, yeah.
Well, that's it. We want to thank our buddy again, Rob, for joining us. It was a hell of a good time. We'll have to have you back again sometime. And now all we got to do is for Glenn to say goodbye.
Goodbye.